Welcome back to the Pitch Pod. I'm your host, Jeff Stebbins, and join with me as always is Joe Janner. Joe, how you doing this evening?
Jeff, I'm doing well. Excited to be back on the Pitch Pod. Really looking forward to our match of the week. Getting away a little bit from the English Premier League into Serie A, Inter Milan versus Juventus. So I'm happy. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about. It's the number one and number two team in the league, Serie A, as you referenced, going at it. They're toe to toe, separated by a mere point. So this is what it's all about. This is football at its best. But before we kind of dive into the game and make our predictions, there's been some pretty exciting and unexpected news in the football world. Joe, can you kind of take a minute and update our viewers on Klopp if they're not familiar with the storyline?
So I think it was several days ago that the announcement himself was made that at the conclusion of the season he'd be departing from Liverpool. I think you used the word surprising or different or unexpected in some sense. I immediately, without getting too far into the analysis of it, not knowing everything that's obviously going on, but the timing for me was the one I was curious to hear about, to find out if others were talking about why or the necessity for that announcement needed to be made now versus at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting and yeah, the timeline for sure. All we really know, without speculating, as far as national team duty or opportunities in the future for other leagues, perhaps, a move. I don't know, but all we do know for sure is this legendary manager who has brought Liverpool back to its glory, Klopp, has decided to step away. He said he's fatigued, he's tired, and he wants to take a year off from being a head manager of a world-class football club, which makes sense. It's got a lot of responsibilities and requires a lot of energy. So yeah, I don't blame the guy for wanting to take a nice break. And he actually said in his statement that if he does return to coaching, he can't imagine himself in England coaching any other club than Liverpool. So he's been showing his dedication to Liverpool, and I'm sure he'll be missed, but they have him for the rest of the season. That's the good news.
I think that's great news for Liverpool, considering they're doing well. They're top of the table, English Premier League, performing well. It's got to be good for them. Again, I just questioned the necessity of why it needed to be suggested in public, at least, that the departure was imminent at the end. I feel like probably knowing how rumors and probably knowing how the industry operates is that he figured it was going to someone was going to find out if that was something that was suggested to the board or anybody else within the organization, the club. So he might as well just go out there and put it out so that it's not rumor and drama that goes along with it. It kind of goes along with his character, if you will. Just get out there and say what it needs to be said and move on and anticipate and expect what's going to happen from there. I think we talked about it before, not necessarily on a previous episode, but in conversation, the idea of taking the time off, could it be? Maybe I was just me, Jeff. I'll say it was me. Speculated, could it be that it's a time off, and could it be a return to a national role, and that being Germany for World Cup 2026? Timeline is in place. Can't see it really happening where he would leave, let somebody else take over. Let's say they do well, that person, then that means they're gonna vacate. They're just gonna give Klopp. So I think he kind of softened it, if you will, by saying that yes, if he were to return back to England to manage, you can't imagine being for any Liverpool. We've heard other people say other things all the time about not doing this, not doing that, and then they go one other direction. So it is what it is in that sense. But yeah, I think it's top news for the international football world, and it's exciting to have to chat with you about that, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But he's earned the break, he's earned the rest, so good for him. And I'm sure Liverpool will continue to do well in the future. Whoever they get as a replacement, that'll be an interesting pick. But the reason we're here today is to talk about Inter Milan versus Juventus, the number one, number two teams in Serie A going at it. there's so many different angles that we could approach talking about this game, but I think, immediately we have to point out that Inter is the favorites. It's a home match for Inter, and they've been a super, super solid club for years now, making it all the way to the Champions League final last season. So, I think going into this match, most people would say that they're the clear favorites. Not necessarily a 70-30, but they're definitely the clear favorites going into this, and have that advantage of the home field. So, Joe, that's quite a bit for Juventus to take on. Do you think they can do it?
I think they can. Into one point that you made, I mean, I think numbers I saw, 52% probability that Inter Milan was going to win this, which I even think that suggests it's high, considering, again, now they do have a game in hand there, and they have the 1 point over Juventus. But Juventus is a solid team, consistently performing well this year, especially nice transition for them from previous years. They're on the ascendancy. They're in the conversation. Look at them, number 2, as opposed to being dropped down in the middle of the table. So this is a side that's well organized and well constructed, has been performing well and able to get results. Yeah, it's an away match for them, but I think that they have it in them. Now, again, you have to go back and look. Last meeting in November, 1-1 draw. Now, again, reverse fixture, but I think they have it in them to compete, to get a result. I'm looking forward to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, going into this, they're going to come out in their lineup at formation, how they typically would in a 3-5-2, with Martinez, a great Argentinian player, up in the top left. And Inter's got several players that can score, but the player that I would be most concerned about with the ball would be Martinez, because he can also distribute, facilitate in that position, in that role. And he's also very dangerous. And he's most likely to be the guy to take the PKs and finish the PKs as well. So Juventus, they got to be defensively ready for this squad. There's no ifs and buts or ands about it. And I think Martinez is the guy that I would focus on primarily, and how to stop him, or at least limit him on that left-hand side, and how he's able to contribute. But yeah, both squads super talented. Joe, you want to run us through what's happening at Juventus?
I think some of the news worth mentioning just today at the conclusion of the transfer window, pick up another midfielder, Carlos Alcaraz. I mean, it's, again, to bolster their midfield, which is probably one of their stronger suits. I mean, that's in this contest, in this match, you talk about the way that both these sides are set up, getting a little bit away or into a cliche of saying it's going to be a midfield battle, but I think that's essentially where it is. How can one side control that? Means to go about finding those dominant attacking players. You look to the side of Juventus, you got a Dusan Vlahovic, 12 goals in 20 games in the league. He's a solid striker. I mean, there's probably maybe some Arsenal supporters listening to this. I say it, I label it the player that got away from them. I mean, was at one point a very close pickup. There was plenty of rumors. I mean, this is last year. This is going back some time. But when you see these numbers coming in from this side and what he's doing here, you're going, wow, how much or how could have Arsenal been a benefactor of having a player like that? Let's not get here. I'm getting drawn back to EPL, but let's talk about again Dusan. That he's a very strong striker.
Yeah, I agree. And they have a whole squad, a variety of players that can score, but his stats, like you said, right away, they jump off the page. They're super impressive. He really is. And then Joe, as an American, I believe I'm aware that they have some American players. We got to point them out simply because of our commitment to them representing us on the international level. Joe, tell us about the Americans over there.
We got Weston McKennie, very much, again, an integral part of the midfield. He's considerable playing time and has done well within the squad. Got Timothy Weah also there, that now looking into some recent reports suggesting, I love this label, Jeff, mysterious illness, keeping him from training that will potentially keep him out, right? What that is, who knows? We won't get too far into that, but that's something that could contribute to this, him not being available, because he is there. He is someone that can come off the bench or contribute in a way. So those are our fellow Americans that are a part of that squad. Looking forward to seeing, I guess in this case, how Weston McKennie contributes in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. And Weah in the past has been definitely a major contributor for them and for the national team. So yeah, if he's still out for the match, which it sounds like he's going to be, that's a big blow to Juventus going into this. Absolutely. Um, but I'm excited for this, and I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a really well contested match. And I think I'm ready for my prediction, Joe, if you're ready for yours.
Yes, I got it. You're saying or suggesting I need to go first?
I'm saying go first, Joe. Just
Got
take
it.
it run.
Probably too easy, Jeff. I think highlighted it, alluded to it in some sense. This is a Juventus team that can get on the road away and get a result. Now, did I say it was going to be a win? I didn't say they're going to win. The reverse fixture, 1-1. Jeff, for me, I have to say same result, 1-1 draw in this upcoming match. That is my official prediction.
Okay, wow. I could easily see a draw. I maybe a few more goals would be my guess. If it was going to be a draw, I think maybe a 2-2 draw is kind of where I'd settle. But no, that's a fair prediction. That's fair. I could definitely see that playing out. I think for me, for this match, and looking at how both teams have performed as of late, I gotta go with Enter winning this. They're the favorites. I think that's a smart bet. The question is how many goals, how close is it? And I think you're right. I think it is going to be a well contested game the whole time, but I'm going to go with Enter winning this game with a 3-1 goal differential. Yeah. Now, and that's a tough decision. 2-1's kind of the safe bet, but you know what? They got the firepower. You can't bet against these guys. And some of their recent matches, they're putting up 4 goals, 3 goals. So it's not necessarily the safest bet as far as the score line, but that's just kind of what I'm feeling. And I think they can do it. I think they're the team that can win and win in a dominant fashion. So that's my prediction.
And that's fair. I think that them scoring a lot of goals could. I mean, so much can happen within the match, right? So many instances or outcomes or moments that could lend itself to. Here's a PK. Go ahead, put this goal, get the third goal, or to start things off. So okay, I can see it. So Jeff, you got them winning 3-1. Okay.
Yeah. And speaking of Martinez, he can also draw the PK too. So not only does he finish them, he's a guy that can draw it and uses height disadvantage to his advantage and kind of draw some fouls in the box. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Joe, I know you're excited to see the match and can't wait to see how it's going to play out and what team stays on top and what team moves down a slot. So it's going to be fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in and enjoy the game. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like what we bring you here at the Pitch Pod, please do us a favor, hit that like and that subscribe. Don't forget, we're available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. Thank you everyone and keep pitching out there.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.